Some say it grew from our malice and indifference. Some say it was retribution from the heavens. All we know is the pandemic began somewhere. Somewhere cursed, dark, and filled with sorrow. Future generations will wonder how it all started. We will tell them the infection began with PodcastZERO.
Hello, everybody!
Hello.
Hello.
Oh my god. Technical difficulties are abounding and trying to keep us down, but the man can't keep us down. We are live, finally. I apologize, everybody. Some crazy stuff going on. As you can see, it's a whole new interface because I had to make a new one of those. And, yeah, just bad juju. But I want to welcome our special guest tonight, Mr. Greg Spence from SOE. Hello,
hey,
Greg.
How's it going?
Thank you for being here. And of
course, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, and we'll get to chatting with him in just a second. Mr. Stockus is here tonight.
Hey!
Miss Skylatron, the Supreme Executive Commander at 10 Ton Hammer.
Hi.
Hi. I do this tower all the time.
All the time. I was in charge of waffles this morning.
Yeah. Oh, waffles. Yeah, she's an extreme waffle commandress.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead, Stockett.
No, it's an important job to have.
Yeah. All right. So Elohim was his birthday today. He could not be here tonight. And I'm sorry, Ko's birthday was here, and Elohim was getting his kneecaps waxed, so he couldn't be here either. So that's why we have a couple of blanks down there. We got Fred and the PodcastZERO thing. All right, so what I'm going to do is I still have a little bit more work to do on this interface to fix it all the way. While we're doing that, Mr. Spence, would you go by Greg? What would you like to be called?
Greg is great.
Okay. Greg, could you please explain what your job is at SOE and kind of how it ties in with H1Z1?
Yeah, well, I'm one of the software engineers on the team, and fairly new to the team. I've been on a couple of months, and basically I've been working on a lot of melee combat and grappling and things to do with hand-to-hand and melee weapons and that sort of thing, trying to build a nice melee system for the game, because that's something that a lot of our other games that use the Forge Light engine don't have right now, so that's sort of new territory.
Awesome.
Cool. So does that tie in with the melee weapons as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're trying to build a melee system that's fun to play and not a typical MMO whack an ability as fast as it becomes available. We don't want that kind of combat. We want it to be a little bit more engaging and to feel more visceral. We've had lots of conversations about what we all want to see out of combat, but we all agree that we want it to feel, really fun and like you're really engaged. And so we're trying to develop a melee system that puts you right there in the combat, and you're not just spamming keys while you're, watching TV or something like that.
I did notice that when I played the demo. Going into it as an mostly MMO player, I was just like trying to whack at things with the axe, and it's more than that. You have to time it and stuff, and it was pretty cool. Very different.
Right.
I think it's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, and depending on when you were trying it out, that was probably a really, really early prototype, and it's been evolving a lot every day and getting better and better. But there's a lot of tweaking that goes into it to make it fun. But the base system is in there now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people think about it.
Real quick before we continue on, everybody, if you have any questions for Mr. Spence, by all means, just put them in the chat, but put them in with brackets. Just say question in bracket, and then just say question like Greg to the end, and he will explain it as best he can, and if it's stuff he can't talk about, of course he can skip over it. So yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. Geekdomo.
Hold on. We just got a subscriber. Thanks, Ojandy83. I forgot to turn that off.
Oh, you got wubs or something
It's
going
fine.
on?
I got wubs going. Yeah, I forgot to turn off the wubs.
It's
Thanks.
still exciting.
Yes, welcome to the tribe. Sorry, everybody. I gotta turn that off.
Okay.
Yep, we'll do the dance later. Okay, so Greg, I was watching some people play the other day, and when I was watching like Jimmy and play at the 12-hour show, were you in the room with all the other guys that were like the guy was on the right doing the wolf walk? Was that you in that room? Were you in that room with those guys?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. But there was a couple people. One guy specifically was showing the combat, and the combat looked really good because it looked really visceral. Like the as they were punching the zombie, it was like in that screen. It was like really connecting, and you saw blood spattering off the hands and the face as he was doing it. I was like, wow, that looks awesome. It looks like he was really boxing.
Yeah.
Then when we saw the E3 video recently, it looked like he was swinging, but really far away, and it didn't look like it was connecting. Has there been some major changes between those two scenes that we saw between the 12-hour demo and then the E3?
There was definitely something going on, some bug in the system for the E3 demo, unfortunately. That had the old prototype melee system in there, and I'm not sure what was going on with the distance, but I was hearing reports that some of the range stuff wasn't working correctly. But we basically put in a prototype just to see how it felt, and then we reworked the entire melee system to actually support sort of the in-depth combo system that we wanted to support. So that's in there now. So that's a recent check-in that nobody's probably played with yet, other than us internally, and that allows the designers to really get advanced in terms of defining the combo system, which is basically how one of your attacks can combo into another attack based on the timing, and it gives them the ability to build up more powerful attacks as long as you maintain that timing. If you click too soon or click too late, or your opponent becomes out of range, then it sort of breaks that combo and you go back down to basic attacks. And that lets us do, like I said, layer on, in addition to damage, things like knockbacks and stuns if you get an uppercut or an overhand strike with an axe. So we can get real fancy, and the effects that are applied as you build that combo counter up.
Okay. Are they going to be things like a dodge mechanic or an evade type thing?
Well, one of the things that we did is you begin your swing at the target that you're facing, but we don't actually connect until your weapon would be making a connection with that person. So there's not a specific dodge mechanic, but we do take into consideration the location of your opponent at the time that the melee weapon would hit. So you can dodge by just literally getting out of the way. So it's not like a specific dodge, but I expect when people are fighting, you're going to see lots of people, strafing, trying to go back and forth. It's going to probably look a little bit like a dance, and we're just going to have to see how that looks, because you're going to want to come in, and time it so that your axe makes contact when you're close enough to the opponent, and then get out before he swings back. And so it's going to be interesting to see how PvP combat goes using the system, but NPC combat against zombies is going to be very different. They're not going to be really dodging that much, so you can just start wailing on them with combos. But PvP will be interesting to see for sure.
Okay.
Do you have any systems in place, like in DayZ, if you were to do like a circle strafe, it sort of like negated the zombie's ability to hit. Do you have, I guess I don't know if I can ask you this, but are you using something like Storybricks, which kind of gives a little bit of a better AI to them, or are you kind of developing your own AI where it will monitor the way the fight's going and be like, okay, that's not working, let me try this instead?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're using sort of the base AI system that's built into Forge Lite that we have with some of the other games, and it's actually pretty advanced. It allows us to do a lot of different types of NPC behaviors, and so we can make their AI as kind of complex as we'd like. So it's a matter of getting in there and seeing how they react, and if we don't like what they're doing, changing those behaviors or creating new behaviors, and going from there. So it's pretty flexible. The grappling system that we're working on uses the behaviors, so we can put in code that says if not code, but design data that says if a zombie's within a certain amount of a distance from you and he hasn't been hit in a certain amount of time, then maybe he tries to grab you and bite you. So that's kind of stuff that we can put in using the tools that we have built into Forge Lite.
Okay.
Cool.
Just something that made me think about, you're talking about how the way you're working it is so that the player's swinging his axe and it's not actually going to connect until the axe is in the spot where it would actually make contact.
Mm.
I play a lot of Battlefield, and you come across a thing where it's basically a kill swap, where you're both shooting at each other at exactly the same amount of time, and because there's a little bit of lag there, you're playing on a multiplayer server, you basically trade kills, where both of you kill each other simultaneously. Is there something that you guys are going to be doing either server-side or just in the animations so that, say, if two players were swinging at each other simultaneously, that wouldn't happen, where you'd basically just end up knocking each other out and falling over? I mean, is that something that you guys have thought about yet?
Not specifically that situation. I suppose it could happen like you described if you both happen to be, solo in health, that the very next hit would knock you out, and you begin your attack at the same time when the connection would occur, then I guess you would both knock each other out, kill each other, or whatever. So I guess that would still possibly work. But yeah, you'd have to be, you'd have to be in the exact situation for that to occur, I guess.
That's cool. Thank you.
Skylar, when you were playing it out at E3, what did you think of the combat? How did it feel to you? Even though it's not finished yet, but what did it feel like to you there?
It felt pretty difficult, which was kind of cool. Hold on, that's better. Okay. I admittedly did less melee combat than I did with my gun and my vehicle. Mm-hmm. So, but it was actually hard when I had two zombies on me, and yes, I could hit one in the face with my axe, and it felt really nice and really connected. But it was actually difficult, and I had to run away, and that was really cool.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that you have to fight. I know. I tend to spam sometimes when I get excited and I'm playing a game and it's like, click, 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 click. And you have to resist doing that with the system, because the point is we want you to engage with what's happening in the screen, and we want you to pay attention and time your attacks. So the optimal attacks are going to be when you hit those sweet spots, and your next one will come faster. So you have to resist that urge to spam and actually pay attention, and you'll be able to do the most amount of damage that way. And we'll see how that goes. We think it'll be fun, and we'll just have to play test it. But we have the ability to adjust those hot zone windows that we call them, and make them either bigger or smaller, which changes how easy it is to combo into the next attack. So there's a lot of knobs we can tweak to get it feeling good.
I definitely never hit that point where I was able to do one. It was like attack, then weapon goes back, and then I have to do the full range again. I was never able to get that timing down. That'll be fun to figure out.
Yeah, and that could have been really early before we had it all working.
I've got a question for you. Greg, could you go through a little bit how you got involved with H1Z1, and maybe like a little bit of your background and what your previous education was, or your jobs that you had before?
Sure. Well, actually, I've been programming for a long time and was doing business application development and websites and e-commerce sites for a consulting company when I worked back in Tennessee. But I've always been a big EverQuest fan. I played EQ1 in beta back in '99 and stuck with it for a long time. Played EQ2 when it came out. And the first chance that I had to go to a fanfare was when they came to Atlanta in 2006. And so I showed up at that fanfare and went to the Dev Brunch, which they're actually doing again this year. So a little shout out to this year's SOE Live. Come see us out there and come to the Dev Brunch. It's a lot of fun. And so I went to the Dev Brunch and got to meet a lot of the developers from EQ2. And being a software engineer at the time, I was super interested in how things worked. So we really hit it off. We connected. I had a lot of questions and ideas, and got to be friends with one of the developers. He ended up joining my EQ2 raid guild at the time, and we played together for months. And then one day he said, "Hey, you still thinking about getting in the gaming industry? Because we've got a job opening." So I said,
that's awesome.
I sent in my resume, did phone interviews. They flew me out, did an in-person interview, and they offered me the position. So I told my wife, "Hey, let's pack up and move to San Diego." So in about 30 days, we had to sell the house, pack everything up. I had a business that I was running at the time there, a hobby shop. We had to shut that down, and we moved out to San Diego, and that was in 2006. And I joined the EverQuest 2 team when I joined SOE back then. So, yeah, I stuck with the EverQuest 2 for a long time, and after about 5 years on that team, I worked my way up to the lead developer on EQ2. But after I'd been doing that for a little while, moved over to EverQuest Next and worked on Landmark for. Actually, I was on EQ Next for just a couple of months before they pulled me off onto PlanetSide. And this was about 6 months before PlanetSide 2 launched, and they needed additional help there. So we kind of rallied the troops, and a few of us went over there and worked on getting PlanetSide 2 out the door. And once that shipped, I went back to Landmark and worked there for a while. And then I actually ended up leaving SOE for about 6 months. I had the opportunity to join another local startup company, and I decided to give it a shot, and I joined them for a little while. That ended up not working out. They ended up shutting down, and of course, my first thought after that was, well, wonder what's going on back at SOE, and talked to John, and he said he'd like to have me on the H1Z1 team. And when I learned about that, I said, yeah, let me come back and do that. That sounds really cool. So I've been back there now for a few months.
Can you give us? I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but how long has H1Z1 been in development from SOE's standpoint? Can you tell us, like, it's been sort of under wraps for a year or 6 months?
I don't know if I can give exact numbers. In fact, I don't even know that my exact numbers would be accurate since I did leave and come back. I know it's been in development for a while. I mean, the Forge Light engine itself has been in development for a long time. As far as the actual H1Z1 design, I'm not sure exactly how far back it was going on. I know it was happening while I was away, and so it's been going on for a little while.
By the way, while we've been sitting here talking, we've been clegged.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he said one thing like a sneaky bastard.
Yeah, he's sneaky. Hey, Adam, how you doing? Adam has also been a previous guest on this show, so thanks for stopping by, Adam.
Yay.
He's here to watch Greg, make sure Greg doesn't say anything off the company line. Otherwise,
I think he's not talking in chat because he might clegg it up and break chat if he says too much stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll just be sure to say Clegg said we are going to do this.
Yes.
Clegg gave us the date of release.
All right. So yeah, what part of the Forge Light engine is like your specialty? Would you say? What part do you feel like the most comfy working with?
It's a good question. On PlanetSide 2, it was sort of all hands on deck. So I worked on all of the sort of grouping systems, the platoon, squad systems, and all of that on there. I also did the majority of the implementation of the station marketplace and making all of that stuff work. Did the Steam integration and worked on voice chat and all kinds of stuff. And then when I moved over to EQ Next Landmark, I was really concentrating on user interface and doing a lot of work with Scaleform, and I was the lead client programmer on EverQuest Next Landmark, so I sort of branched out into a lot of different client-related tasks over there. And then, like I said, since I've been on H1Z1, it's been mainly all melee combat. So it's hard to pick a specific area because it feels like I've been bouncing around quite a bit. But
don't you feel that makes you more well-rounded? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it helps you understand the whole engine as a whole, and it helps you be able to jump in and help other people with issues when you have a familiarity with other systems. So that's always good.
Do you feel it's possible for them to bring in maybe later on some of the voxel farm engine into this, or is it just this will probably not implement voxel farm at any time?
It's certainly a possibility. Since it's integrated now with the Forge Light engine.
Right.
It would certainly be a possibility. As far as whether or not there's plans to do that, I would say probably not, only because it's a lot of simultaneous development going on, but who knows? I mean, you can never say what the future holds, but it would definitely be an entirely new landscape system, and so it would be in a complete redesign and everything that's landscape related, and it would probably mean having to redo every bit of the population and placement of buildings and stuff like that. So the likelihood that they would switch to that seems probably pretty low, but who knows?
Save that for H1Z1 too, and
H1Z2.
Yeah. You never know. Smed might come in one day and go, "You have to get the voxel farm working in the engine by next month," and then we start marching towards that. So you never know.
That's pretty cool.
Little J-Smed.
Let me ask you this: Are you involved at all with the implementation for, like, say, facial capture or anything like that?
You mean like the SOE Mote stuff?
Yeah, SOE Mote, yeah.
I didn't work on it specifically. I know the guys that did. I was actually at the E3 when we met those guys that did the API, and they presented it. Dave Georgeson and I were both there, and they showed off their technology, and Dave's eyes lit up and was like, "We've got to get that for EQ2." So,
Right.
It took us I guess that was probably a year and a half before we actually did it in EverQuest 2, and so I'm familiar with the system a little bit, but I haven't worked on it specifically myself.
I was just curious because I would like to. I don't know, with the facial recognition, like the SOE emote, which is amazing. And has anybody ever confirmed whether or not this will be an H1Z1? I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not.
I'm just saying. I'm just wondering if they have any plans for doing some like full body captures as well for like when you're doing combat. I'm thinking right now the combat is sort of standard. Are they going to have like a big full motion cap for the whole combat system, or is it going to be more kind of the way it is right now?
I expect it to be more like it is currently.
Okay.
That's an interesting concept. It certainly would be fun to explore something like that, but I don't think that's in the cards.
Okay. Just curious.
There'd be a lot of capture involved in something like that. You'd have to capture literally every single type of animation.
Like a happy zombie, a sad zombie.
Oh, I'm thinking just physically, as if you were using a physical reference of someone making the motion of swinging an axe.
Swinging,
and then someone reacting to that, and then someone would have to do the zombies. Although they did do that at the Sony event, didn't they?
Right.
They had
That's what I was.
Video camera set up. I think that was more for reference material, though, more so than actual capture.
We're actually doing a lot of that in-house for our own motion capture for the animations, which is cool. In fact, the guys worked on it pretty late last night, and they set up the system and do a lot of our own mocap for things like our attacks. And they were in there getting melee attacks and spear lunges and stuff like that, and they were doing all that through motion capture because it saves us a lot of animation time. So there's definitely that going on, on the team, which is really cool.
He just confirmed spears, so we can expect a bunny on a dead bunny head on a spear at any point in time. It's a running joke on our channel when we do our shows. When was it Jimmy that was here? Jimmy Weisenhunt was here when we talked about that we should have a special streamer only gift like they do with Landmark, and we came up with it should be like a zombie rabbit head stuck on a stick, and you could wave it at people and infect them with H1Z1. But yeah. All right. You guys want to get started with our Q&A? If anybody has any questions in the audience, by all means, just type in question in brackets, and our mod Maven will grab it up and stick it in the chat for us so that we can do that. We can ask the questions.
I just want to ask more a little bit about the melee system.
Oh, by all means, please do that before we start the Q&A. I didn't want to jump ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. So, I mean, obviously you've got physical melee weapons like bats or sticks or axes or anything like that. Can we expect to see other weapons that may not be specifically a melee weapon, but they're being a melee sort of, so like with a gun? You know, I've seen a lot of games where you're holding the gun. If someone gets up close, you melee, and then they, do a quick butt whip or something like that. Is there going to be things like that where you may have something in your hand that's not specifically a melee weapon, but there'll be some sort of way of using it to defend yourself like that?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about that for just a second. And again, I'm approaching this from the software engineering side, and I can tell you what the system will support. This doesn't necessarily mean we will get around to actually making this happen right away, but certainly one of the cool things we can do with this new melee system is basically whenever you are when you're holding a weapon and you do something as simple as clicking your mouse, you're basically executing an ability like you would be doing if you pressed something on a hotbar in an MMO. But the way that we're handling the melee system is that we can do some target-specific abilities where when you go to execute that attack, we can actually do this check to see what your target is. What is it you're swinging at? And then we can change the ability based on what we call requirements and do something different based on what you tend to be swinging at. So a good example is, let's say you're holding a hatchet and you walk up to a zombie and you click, you're going to take a swing like you would trying to be chopping that zombie's head off. But you turn around and you walk over to a tree and abilities can have different animations and different effects. So even something, take for example that you have a knife and you're wielding it and you're attacking a zombie and you're doing little stabby actions, but let's say you kill a deer and you walk over to the corpse of the deer and you click with your knife, it now knows that what you want to do is harvest meat or skin from that deer, and it's going to play a different animation and it's going to perform a harvest action and give that to you. So with that kind of system, we can do really cool things like any item that you pick up. We were just fantasizing about all the cool stuff we could do, and again, this is like, this is out there. The stuff that we can do might not come out. But let's say you have a wrench that you use to repair a vehicle or something. This target requirement system will allow us to say if you're standing in front of a vehicle and you click, you start repairing it. But let's say a zombie runs up and you turn around and you click, you're going to hit the zombie over the head with a wrench. So it's kind of like what you're asking, like, can you take items that aren't specifically melee weapons and fight with them? And the answer is yes, the system will allow that. It's just a matter of us going in and setting up all of those abilities and also having the time to animate them, because that's a big thing too. That takes a lot of time. So we can take all kinds of items in the game, be it a 2x4 or whatever you might be able to hold in your hands, and we can create all different kinds of cool abilities with them with different animations and different effects. So hopefully we'll have the time to grow that system and make it into something really amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, I know personally from my standpoint, the idea that you can be anywhere in the world and pick something up and potentially use it as a weapon in a pinch, you've not necessarily got. Well, I mean, maybe not a plate, maybe not a plate. I mean, it would be really cool if you could literally be in a house scavenging for food, and then all of a sudden there's a zombie in a room that you didn't check on, and it's come through, and you're there in the kitchen. It's like, what have you got? There's a pile of plates. You pick up a plate and you just smash it over his head. Yeah. Or if you've got a can of beans in your hand or beets, they are in H1Z1.
Yeah, a can of beets.
You got a can of beets, and you're like yeah, exactly. You're almost ready to eat it, or you're going to store it, but then all of a sudden you jumped. What can you do? What would you do in that situation if you had a big, heavy can of beets and you'd either throw it at the zombie or you'd try and clock it with it? And that would be far out.
Let's take that idea where you're fighting with these weapons that are sort of like, spur of the moment impromptu weapons, and we also layer that with the combo system I was telling you about. Let's say you've got a wrench and you're hitting them over the head with the wrench, but you do your timing just right where you build up to say like a fourth combo with the wrench, and that animation is taking the edge of the wrench and putting it through the zombie's eye, and that's how you finish them off, right? So we can mix these kind of cool impromptu weapons with combos and finishing moves, because we can also layer these effects based on requirements that check things like how much health do they have left and how much stamina that you have. So maybe we could require that before you do something cool like that, you have to have enough stamina. So again, I'm talking about capabilities here and not necessarily what's going to happen in early access, but these are the things we can do with the system. And so, I'm excited about the potential.
That's nuts. That's awesome.
Let me ask you something, Greg. Do you play other games that are in the same genre?
Well, so I've been a big gamer, but in the last year or two, I've had a lot of personal life changes with twins along the way and a couple other things going on, and it's gotten to the point where my time for computer gaming has really gotten really low, and it's unfortunate because there are a lot of games I really want to play, and the last thing I really got into was Dota 2, and that sort of ruled my life for a while, and then sort of when I got off of that, it's like I hadn't really gotten back to gaming in a while, and it's something I need to make time to do, but yeah, it's one of those things that I have to sort out a lot of other little things going on between work and personal stuff before I can sort of return back to gaming. So yeah, I don't have a lot of experience in some of the other survival genre games, but stuff like The Forest looks really cool. I mean, I definitely want to check some of these out and see what they're doing and try to learn from the things they've tried.
That's what I was going to just mention you. And when you started talking about the axe thing, I was like, that's The Forest. Because I'm right now I did a 30 Days of DayZ, and now I'm doing a 30 Days of The Forest. And The Forest is like that, where if you're swinging at a cannibal, it's hitting them with it, and it's doing like a back and hack and slash motion. Then you take that same axe up to a tree, and it starts chopping at the tree. So I was kind of trying to relate to that. I was hoping maybe you had played some of that already.
I haven't yet, but I mean, kind of like Yeah, it seems like the logical thing that you want to do. And what would normally happen in an MMO, like, EverQuest or something like that, you have an ability bar, and one of your abilities is going to be attack one, and another one's going to be chop tree, and you just have to hit the right one at the right time. And we're trying to make it target sensitive, basically, so that you don't have to have a typical ability bar.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I love minimalism in UIs. I just think it's fantastic. I don't like having, like, when World of Warcraft, when you started getting into raiding and stuff, and it was just bar upon bar upon bar, and it's just
10 hot bars.
Exactly, and 10 other hot bars and all this other stuff going all around the screen. It just got to be a bit of a nuisance.
Yeah, at that point you're playing the UI and you're not
Yes.
paying attention to the game, and we definitely want to get away from that.
Yep. Cool. Exactly. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started with the question and answer. I do want to bring up one little quick point. Remember, everybody, that after the show, we're going to be giving away the R290 here, the AMD R290. That's going to be available for any VIP member of the Domo tribe. So, if you want to have a chance to get that, you have to be a VIP. Either you win it, which we're not going to be doing giveaways for it right now, and or you can donate or subscribe. So we'll talk about that more later, but let's go ahead and get on with the Q&A. I guess, Skylar, would you like to ask the questions tonight?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, I think this one has been answered. Red 1408, will there be a melee blocking mechanic? We answered that earlier, right? Blocking mechanic, it's not like a skill, it's a move out of the way thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have discussed it. We've thought about trying to do something like that, but there's nothing that we've really decided upon or announced at this point. But it's, that might be the phase 2 of the melee system, is sort of a more, we were talking about being able to pick up like the lid of a trash can and use it to, block an attack or something. It's kind of things we'd love to be able to see, but it's probably, like I said, a phase 2 type of thing.
Right, that's exciting. All right, H1Z1 Jane, what challenges do you have with programming grappling and these other features that you're implementing?
Well, a lot of the challenges have to do with timing and lag and trying to make sure that things feel good. And there's always that struggle between doing something on the client, which is going to give you the best possible performance and synchronization, and then the security of verifying it on the server so that people can't hack the system or say that they're doing something that they're not. So that's always a struggle. How do you give a good feeling and responsiveness to the game, but avoid those pitfalls? So we're always looking at those things when we're building the system.
All right, I don't know if you can answer this one. Tactical Donut, can we confirm a list of available weapons crafted or found? A small list of available weapons crafted or found.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, probably the only ones that I would mention were probably ones you've probably already seen. So I don't know that I can
Axes.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some really cool ones that we're working on, and I don't know if they've been mentioned yet. So I want to make sure that I don't say something I shouldn't. But there's some pretty cool stuff in the works for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Christopoulos, how hard is it to kill other players with melee weapons compared to ranged?
I mean, it's definitely, I guess, like any game, when you put yourself in melee range, then you're going to open yourself up to their melee attacks as well. But I guess it depends on, if they've got a ranged weapon, how good of a shot they are too. So I think, with this game, element of surprise is going to be a lot. It's going to be worth a lot. And so melee is going to be interesting, but I guess you're going to have to size up your opponent and decide for yourself which one is the best. But I expect, as far as balance goes, we don't want to make one more viable than the other. Both should be very viable forms of combat, and I expect a good player is going to be one that can switch quickly between a pistol and a knife, depending on what your needs are.
Is that a difficult switch? To switch between a ranged weapon and a melee weapon right now?
Right now it's not. We have hotkeys for switching between your loaded out weapons, and of course you only have so many slots available to load certain weapons, and beyond that you'd have to actually open your inventory and change them out, and that could be more time consuming. But certainly switching between a couple of primary weapons should be fairly easy.
Okay, in what state will H1Z1 be released? Alpha, beta, or a more complete game?
Good question. Not probably the right one to answer that question, but I mean, I guess it depends on what they mean by release. Obviously, we're going to do early access, and we want that to be as polished as possible. But as far as what do you call early access? It's early access. I mean, the game's definitely in a state of beta where things are changing, and the goal is to involve the community and get feedback and continue development based on what people are saying that are playing the game. But we want it to always be polished. We don't want you to get into a game and feel like stuff's not working or features are half done. So our goal is going to make sure that the game, we're going to try to make sure that the game is running well and polished and all the features are working. But there's going to be features that aren't done yet, and that's the whole point of early access, getting that feedback and working with the community to build the game that you guys want to play.
Not entirely dissimilar from what you do with Landmark. Not you specifically, but
yeah.
That's
Exactly.
the biggest problem. We were talking about this last week with the state of early access, and some of the games that are coming out lately are just really crap. And if it makes, and most gamers are feeling kind of ripped off about early access because I don't think this would happen with Sony because your games are a lot more polished and you're a much bigger studio. But some of the smaller studios are coming out with some really bad stuff. Specifically, like some basic gameplay features that just don't work at all. You fall through the earth constantly. Things like that. That just, it seems like it's even pre-alpha, and they're coming up and they're putting them on the store and they're charging full price for the game. And you don't mind having some bugs. Like a good example is The Forest. I'll use that as a really great example of an early access game that works. You can get in it, you can play it. Yes, things happen. Sometimes the cannibals explode and I fly 1,000 feet back and die. But for the most part, it generally works really well. And then there's other ones. I won't mention them all because there's a bunch that are lately been coming out that are just so broken. You're just like, man, how could you even charge anything for this? So,
kind of feels like it's a little bit of a money grab or something, huh? Like get it out there as fast as you can and start trying to collect, payments or something. And we don't want to do that for sure because you just scare people off that way.
Right. Will I ever go back to any of those games now that I've played that I hate? Because I'm like, you guys just sold me something for $35 that doesn't even slightly work? Yeah. Probably not. And, that's why I think that it's a great idea to have the early access because it does get the people a chance to play that are really invested in the game. Like, I'm a hardcore H1Z1 guy. Once early access comes out, I'm going to be streaming this nonstop on my channel for quite some time.
Cool.
And so I'm ready for that. But there are people that are sort of maybe on the fence or not really tolerant of these kind of issues, and if some things show up and all of a sudden it's just, oh my God, I keep falling to the earth, or everything I make just disappears 5 seconds later. Those are kind of game breakers that can.
Yeah, early access isn't for everyone, that's for sure. I mean, it's for the person that definitely is excited about the genre and wants to get in and be a part of the development and is willing to deal with, potential bugs and things like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it'll be really cool, a lot of fun, and obviously we want to make something that works well. And our goal is to have a lot more polished of a product than some of the other people are putting out there, because like the adage says, you only get one chance to make a first impression. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Sony is in a good yet tough position because they're in the position to create something that a lot of other game developers and publishers have failed at doing.
Right.
So they've got a really good opportunity. They've seen what works in some games, they've seen what doesn't work in games, and they've got the opportunity to sort of put all the bits together and make something really good. But at the same time, because of how late you're coming into the game with like a zombie survival game, there are a lot of people who feel cheated or burnt by these other games that didn't follow through. And so it's going to be a challenge for you guys to try and win them over a little bit, or maybe just reinstall some faith into them that there is someone that can make the game that they all wanted these other ones to be. Yeah. But from what a lot of us have seen so far, you guys are on the right track. Mm-hmm. And talking with developers like yourself and hearing the sorts of things that you're working through in your processes creating the game, it's a very promising thing and it's I think you guys have got the opportunity to really make a winner, I think.
Thanks. Well, we appreciate the vote of confidence, that's for sure. I mean, we hope we can deliver on it, and, we're going to try our best. We've got a great team of people, and everybody's working really hard to make the game that they want to play, too. And hopefully, like you said, the people that have tried other games and maybe been burned and they're not willing to try something in the genre, maybe they'll hear good things from their friends, and they'll hear that it is a lot of fun, and they'll come in and they'll give it a try. So hopefully that'll work out.
Real quick, Adam Klegger has offered $500 per early access copy. He's giving them out on PayPal, or through PayPal.
Yeah.
To anybody on his friends list. So.
Wow.
Steam, of course.
What a deal!
It is a deal, Adam. The amount of money I've dumped into some early access games lately, I think that would be a steal. All right, Skylar, want to go to the next one?
Not sure if this one is you either, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Domoshi, how detailed will the furniture placement be in game, or will there even be any at all?
Yeah, I mean, that's not really my area. I'm not sure if I understand what they mean by detailed, but it's I don't know that I can really comment too much on it. But I mean, from what I've seen so far, we've obviously got experience with other games like Landmark and like EverQuest 2, where building and customizing was a big part of the game, and we know that people love that. So we want it to be very flexible, but we also have to build something that works in an MMO environment. So I don't want to talk around in circles. I don't know the details, but you can bet that it's something we're going to strive for, a very high quality experience, because that's what's going to be fun, customizing your house, customizing your camp, and so we want that to be, very rewarding.
That's cool, because I actually, I thought in my own brain that there wouldn't be that much customization, so hearing that there might be some would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, we're expanding on those systems every day.
Feo72, will there be any type of body armor so you can survive more damage?
Good question. There should be. I mean, it's certainly something that the system supports, and so it's just a matter of making those types of items. But we're doing a full wearable system with all different kinds of clothing, so there's no reason why we can't have body armor and different levels of padding and things like that could convey more hit points or stuff to you. So
just sticky tape some pillows to your arms.
The duct tape trousers.
What was it? Someone in one of the zombie movies, someone duct tapes magazines to his arm.
Oh yeah,
thick magazine.
I don't remember what that was, but then he fought zombies off.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through looking for questions that might be more applicable. I don't know much about PlanetSide 2, so I don't know about this question. But Flowboy3, will this game have hardware locks like PlanetSide 2, where if you don't have a good enough PC, you can't play? Is that true with PlanetSide?
Well, I mean, with any game, there's a min spec, and that's really where we decide what kind of computer you need to be able to play at a reasonable frame rate. And I mean, this game will have a min spec, but our goal is to always get that as low as possible, because we want the game to be accessible to anyone. But it is the Forge Light engine. There's a level of quality that you get from that system that does require a certain type of graphics card. But it's not going to be anywhere like PlanetSide 2. I mean, I think I can safely say, because when you think about just the level of stuff that's going on in PlanetSide 2, with the number of vehicles and people and the massive scale battles and the explosions and projectiles, that's a crazy amount of stuff. And we're based on the same engine, so it has the capability to do all of that, but this game's going to be scaled back when it comes to the number of objects and things like that. You're dealing with lots of humanoids, not as many projectiles as you would see in PlanetSide. So I would expect that your machine requirements wouldn't be near what PlanetSide requires, but you're still going to need some fairly recent hardware, I would say. I mean, I'd expect if your computer is a few years old and you have a decent video card, you should be pretty good. But our engine, we always try to make it so that there are different levels of graphic settings so that you can tweak it and adjust things down and play on stuff that's comfortable for your system settings.
As expected.
Yeah.
What about operating systems, like as in I know there are a lot of people out there with still running 32-bit operating systems. Is there going to be a restriction like with a lot of like Landmark is specifically, excuse me, specifically 64-bit? Is H1Z1 going to have that sort of restriction as well, or?
I'm not sure if the specific restriction for 32-bit is going to be there. I don't recall when that came in with Landmark and what the reason was, but I suspect
it was
it'll
a
be
memory
similar
issue with the voxel farm engine, I believe.
Yeah, and I seem to remember that too, but I suspect ours is going to be more similar to PlanetSide. We branched from the PlanetSide engine. We don't have a lot of the additional changes that they've made for Landmark, because so many of those were specific to voxel farm. So I think our operating system requirements are going to be more like PlanetSide. So you should have, all the current stuff, XP, Windows 7, Vista, all that stuff, Windows 8.
That's good.
But yeah, we have seen occasional issues with people that run 32-bit Windows 7 for some reason, which is probably nobody should ever run, but for whatever reason, there are people out there that have it. And yeah, it's like if you're running Windows 7, you should probably have a 64-bit operating system on it. But yeah, so
that's cool.
It should mostly all work.
Sure.
Brad77, for gameplay, I guess combat, will there be target crosshairs or a small white dot?
Obviously right now it's a small white dot. I think the plan is, depending on the weapon you're wielding and what sort of iron sight mode you're in, we would probably change that up a bit. But I'm not sure. I don't know where we're eventually going to end up with that. But I suspect it. Like I said, probably going to depend on the weapon a little bit.
Do you know if H1Z1 will support multi-monitor systems?
It's a good question. No, I don't know the answer, unfortunately, so I'm not even going to speculate.
No problem.
Yeah.
What do you think of the subreddit? Do you actually look at all of the suggestions there?
I have been in it occasionally, but it's been a few weeks, so I'm not sure what the current arguments or suggestions are that are going on. But I think it's a great resource, and I know that that's where we get the majority of our feedback, and that we really can get quick access to what people think about the things that we're doing. So I think this is the first time I've been on a project with this level of interaction and exposure with the community, and I'm really happy for that, because I think it's going to lead to better things for us overall.
Cool.
I think I'm supposed to ask about your car.
My car? Oh, his car. Yeah.
Greg's car. Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No comment.
Was that Adam who asked that? Because it must be.
Yeah, that was definitely an Adam.
All right, now we got to know. Come on, Greg.
Clegg's trying to implant things in there. Don't just ignore Clegg.
No.
Wait, are you talking about a new H1Z1 car or a new real life car? Now I need to know.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh, I think there's an in-joke there somewhere.
I feel dirty for asking it now.
Time for another drink of my beer.
Fair enough. What are you drinking tonight, by the way?
This is Stella.
I was going to say, looks like Stella Artois.
That's right.
All right.
What else we got?
Stuff. We have a lot.
Yeah, lots of questions.
Sit
Yeah.
here. Holy crap.
And Cyberwolf's not even in chat.
I know, right? Jesus. We have a guy named Cyberwolf who would probably put 300 questions in here by now. All very well written, and he writes them out like an hour or two ahead of time. And
No, it would just be 4 questions, but they would be paragraphs long.
yeah. Yeah. The bows. Are they gonna be bows or crossbows or both? Do you know?
Yes.
Yes.
I would expect there's going to be both, right? You can't have this kind of game without a bow and a crossbow. So, yeah, I think that's going to be really cool.
Bows are confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of neat possibilities there for projectile weapons.
Can you comment on whether the bows are a found item or whether they're a craftable item? I'm talking just more like your conventional short
I thought
or
they
long.
posted it was crafted. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, most everything is going to be crafted in our game. We want you to be able to find those resources and make those things, and so yeah, they'll be crafted.
Cool.
Nice. All right. Where are we at, Skyla?
Aircraft? Airships? Quote unquote?
Well, I think they're asking because it's in PlanetSide, so And they
they
just
want to
mentioned
know if there will be flight.
at E3 they did mention that there will be flight.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Greg's like, it's the first I know of it.
Yeah.
I want to get into an Apache helicopter and lay waste to a field of zombies.
Imagine how much gas that would need.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Airships with pirate steampunk confirmed. That's the whole game's going out the window. It's going steampunk.
Yeah.
Steampunk zombies with Jinx. Yeah, steampunk zombies with
dirigibles.
Dirigibles and bolt guns. What do you got? What is going on in the chat right now? I mean, you guys have the good questions, but all you guys are dropping acid and asking questions in the chat right now.
Yeah.
They're like, can I tongue punch your fart box? And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then the next
confirmed.
And the next one, Tootie goes, high heel shoes and lipsticks for weapon in H1Z1. What is wrong with you people?
High heel shoes are a legitimate weapon.
They are. I mean, yeah, I definitely could stick it through some zombies.
A stiletto right through the eye.
Eye socket, yeah. Put it right in the.
Are you guys going to take sort of a bit of a leaf out of Dead Rising's book where, like, you can pick up things like, if you're in a department store, you could pick up a mannequin's arm and hit a zombie with it and go far with it, or is it going to be based on reality to a degree? I mean, you could in theory pick up a leg of or an arm of a mannequin and use it as a weapon, but
yeah,
I mean,
it really comes down to how we design those types of objects in the world and what we allow to be picked up, and then how do we choose to animate those things? Does it just fall back into a standard, right hand slash, animation and stuff? So definitely the capability is there to do things like that, but all of that just takes, time. So
I guess I'm more asking, is that sort of going beyond the feel and the lore of what H1Z1's trying to aim at more so, because Dead Rising's a little bit wacky, it's a bit out there, you grab a couple of bottles of propane and some matches and some other stuff and you make a big flamethrower and things, completely unrealistic. So, I mean, are you really sort of as an art direction side, do you have a very sort of guided guideline of what the sort of things you want to be in the game?
That's probably a good question for Bill Yates, and I'm sure he would have a great answer for that.
Next week, Bill will be on.
Oh, he will?
No, I'm just saying we'll
get him on.
We'll get him on. Yeah, next week.
Get him on. I'll go. Hit him.
Peg him for me, please.
Yeah, we need him.
Fair enough. But I guess from that point of view, does that come across to you guys from actually programming that sort of stuff where you're given a mindset that things have to be very visceral, they have to be very tactile, they have to feel real? It's because that's the kind of site that you're going for in the game. You're looking for as real as possible, but being fun. I mean, does that ever cross over?
Well, from my standpoint, from a software engineer's point of view, a lot of times those things don't even make it to us, other than just being in the meetings where we're discussing it overall. A lot of those things can be implemented with art and the design data and with the animation systems, and they don't even often require any specific coding or engineering to make that stuff happen. So sometimes those conversations go on in rooms where we're not involved, and then if they get to a point where they can't make this happen and they need engineering support for it, then we'll come in and we'll start working on it. So and also me having just been back on the team for a few months now, I'm not I haven't been in all the discussions about art direction and that sort of thing. So I hate to make any specific statements on it, but who knows what's going to happen. We want the game to be very realistic, but specifically putting in support for picking up, any object in the world, that just definitely takes a lot of work, and it consumes a lot of time especially design time, to set that stuff up.
Sure. Cool.
Real quick, somebody said we need to do these streams a lot earlier because it's really late, I guess, over in England or something, but sorry, we do this so that the devs in California have time to get out of work. Yeah, we should force a global time zone change. Yes, that works out much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, go ahead there, Skyla. Ask away, please.
Oh, there was a bullet one. Yes. Chronos Blood. How much are you aiming for real bullet fight and drop, or will it be more like aim and hit like COD? Call of Duty.
The engine supports, projectile drop and that sort of thing, and we certainly have it for things that make sense, like, arrows and things that are, slower speed and heavier projectiles. We use that. I'm sure that those values are all set for ammo, depending on the type. It's just a matter of how the designer wants to tweak it, and certainly for those high-velocity projectile weapons, like, bullets and stuff, it's not as noticeable, but the engine definitely supports that, and we want that to be there in terms of realism.
I said they showed Adam and Jimmy, playing together during the 12-hour live stream,
12.
and 10 hour to 12 hour. Anyway, and they showed the bullet flight, showing like the behind the scenes thing. You could sort of see it looked pretty straight. I didn't see much dropping going on, but maybe that was just they didn't shoot far enough. Yeah,
Could be.
Yeah, I think the shots that they were taking were only happening over maybe 100 meters or so. And with a projectile, you wouldn't see much. If you were shooting a kilometer, there might be the engine might simulate some sort of drop. But from what I saw of that particular part of it, because he did show how he put on the bullet tracker, how it would basically draw a line.
Draws the line, right?
And he was basically just shooting unaimed, and they were just everywhere. And then he would show it aimed, and they were very grouped. But he was only using a handgun, and it was only tracking for so long. So
so you wouldn't notice the drop there. Yeah,
I mean, like you said, things like an arrow, you definitely notice, because even in the real world, over 30, 40 meters, there's arrow. There's projectile drop. But if you've got something like a rifle or something, it takes hundreds of meters.
It's not going to drop within 10 feet.
No.
Yeah.
So
right.
It's good.
Will there be weapon weight? I saw this question earlier, and I don't know if I saw it in our thing, but will a dagger be able to swing faster, for example, than an axe or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, most certainly different weapons are going to have different attack speeds, and that's going to come down to the animation time, and that's going to also affect the combo system and how accurate you have to be with clicking to time your next attack. So that's all going to be taken into consideration with different weapons. Bigger weapons will have these longer, slower swings, but they'll do more damage when they connect. So we're always going to be looking for balance there.
Will the length of the weapon have an impact? Say if you had a shorter, like wrench style against someone who had like a baseball bat, would someone with the longer weapon have that sort of reach advantage?
Yeah, definitely. Like when we're doing the target acquisition for seeing where your opponent is, we take the length of the weapon. We also have width and height values for the weapon as well that determine, how big, how exacting it is, I guess. So something like a dagger will have a smaller area in which it will make contact, where a big axe will have a bigger area and longer range. So those things will definitely come into play.
Sweet. That's cool.
Sorry, Scal, ignore that message. I just noticed how many we had.
What?
I just put a message in Skype, so...
Oh, yeah. Right.
And while you're finding a question, I'm just going to close the window, because the dickheads are out.
Oh,
Sorry.
Great.
Oh, was that you? That was beautiful. Yes. There was one, and then I scrolled down because I'm very special. Stealth. Yes, no?
Stealth? That's a good question. I'm not really sure what the plans are there. I mean, it would be cool to see. I would love to see something based on, noise and line of sight and that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't have any specific information on it.
What about bodies of water? Do you know anything about those right now? If there will be swimming or that sort of thing?
Well, we do have bodies of water, but in terms of whether or not, I haven't seen any swimming yet, so I'm not quite sure if that's something we're planning on implementing sooner or later, or just having shallow bodies of water. I'm not really sure. I know that we're working on other movement models as a higher priority before that. Things like prone, which I think they've mentioned, so those kinds of things are coming before we look at other types of stuff like swimming.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people mention prone in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It seems to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Well, other games, DayZ has prone.
Well, didn't John Smedley confirm that there will be prone in the game eventually?
Why wouldn't there? I mean, it's a great stance to shoot from.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is this game going to be just a PvP shooter, or will there be more mechanics to help broaden the game, like some sort of metagame? How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not clear on the exact question. I don't know if he's talking about metagame like PlanetSide 2 has, where there's ownership of territories or something like that. I mean, it would definitely be cool, and I'm just speculating at this point. We haven't had any discussions about sort of that sort of thing, but it would be kind of neat. I mean, I'd love things like people forming cities and having metagame related to stuff like that. Having somebody be elected as a governor that's trying to run a city and protect his people from outsiders, and that kind of stuff would be cool. We want to see people build that and develop it. But as far as whether or not we're going to specifically put something into the game to encourage that, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely a little bit down the road, I think. But it would be
kind
awesome.
of up to us to figure out if that's what type of game we want after playing it, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And to talk about during early access and see if that's the kind of thing that is a priority versus other stuff.
Well, there's nothing to stop a set server rule, because John talked about having certain servers. Nothing to say that you couldn't set up a server specifically with that type of grounds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because the server rule sets is a big part of it too, and we have that system in place, and we certainly want to see different types of servers with different rule sets, more hardcore, less hardcore, other types of metagame things, no guns, just all kinds of different things. It's going to be kind of up to you guys as far as what we put out there, so that'll be cool.
So I was just going to say, don't let Jimmy create one, because he'll go back to his Counter-Strike roots and have scout knives where you've got nothing but snipers and daggers.
Right. Have the no pants server where everybody's running around with no pants on, and
Yes, please.
This is Stockus's channel nickname is No Pants, so he's big on no pants. And by the way, you stood up a minute ago to open the window or whatever, and you were wearing pants. All the women in the audience were saying, "Oh my God, I just saw Stockus without pants or with pants on." They were very upset they didn't see your ass.
It was very sad.
Yeah.
Yep, it was like 4 degrees this morning. So
what is that in Fahrenheit? Like 800? I forget.
I don't know. But it was very cold, so unfortunately clothing was required. But don't worry, they will be removed.
Yeah, guys, if you have questions, please, either you can use a Q, but put it in brackets so that our moderator can, I'm going to call him that from now on, our moderator, Bod, can grab them and stick them into the chat for us. Because
and
otherwise
I can almost promise you he's not going to tell us when early access is. So.
Yeah, there's about 5,000 questions, like when is early access coming? Even if he knew, he is not allowed to tell.
All right, hang on.
When is it coming,
Just to
Greg?
satisfy everyone in chat. Greg, when's early access happening?
I have no idea.
See? There you go. There's your answer.
And there's your answer.
Well, from a software engineering standpoint, it can't come too late. We need as much time as we can. There's always new things we want to put in there, so it's like this fight between hurry up and launch and no, we want more time. So yeah.
I'm guessing Cycle McHurts is he a dev?
Yeah, that's Tom.
Tom.
Oh.
What's his last name?
Tom. Sorry. Why am I spacing on Tom's last name? Tom Shank. I'm sorry.
Shankman.
For some reason, I was wanting to say like his Twitter handle, but
that's okay.
It's Tom Shank RTD. So.
Oh, wonderful to have him.
Tom, what are you doing next week, Tom?
Yeah. Tom.
You're probably way nicer than Adam.
Is he in chat? Is he in chat right now?
Oh yeah, he's been dropping in all this stuff. Like I guess somebody accidentally took a picture of the whiteboard and.
Yeah, and I'll make you a quiche and a cup of tea, and we'll gossip about Clegg.
Best name ever for a developer who's working on the combat system.
Yeah.
All right, Shankman.
By the way, Tom, I left early to come home and do this podcast.
Tayana gave him permission, by the way. It's all good. She said, yeah, anytime you need a dev to go home early to get on the podcast, just say I said it was okay. So.
That's awesome.
But I did not receive a speeding ticket on my way home, which was good, because I probably deserved one or two.
I did hear you peeling out your tires when you were calling on the phone earlier. You were like...
I will not confirm that.
Lighting them up.
Yeah, and old ladies bouncing off the bonnet.
Yeah.
The
We
bonnet.
say hood over here,
bonnets
yeah.
over here.
All right, where are we
I
at?
don't know what you guys call them over there. Jeez.
Hoods. The hood.
The hood. The bonnet.
Oh, Keldum is here as well. Keldum is a dev as well. Keldum, what's your real name? And are you available next week?
Keldum is James, right?
You're just gonna have a stream with all devs and just kick the rest of
Yeah,
them
yeah,
off.
exactly. You guys, the
Best
devs.
shit ever.
Yeah. Less vapid. It'll be just actually real intelligent speak.
It'll just be dev discussion.
Yeah, and I'll just be
Whoa.
off. It'll be H1Z1 dev discussion.
Oh.
Art Clegger is in here too, yep. At the end here, guys, make sure you put your Twitter stuff in here when we do that, so we can have your... Oh!
Yeah.
T-Lock
Yeah.
is here as well.
Yeah, guys, any of this
Tim.
SFG devs in chat, pimp yourselves out.
Yeah.
We want a whole lot. We want your personal email address. We want your Skype details. We want your Twitter details. We want to know your measurements, the whole lot.
Yeah, I'm asking for dates, not if you can come on the show. I just want to know if you're available.
Yeah, he just wants to take you out to dinner and a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds good.
Maybe
Yeah.
after we can get some
I'm a
beers.
cheap date.
Yeah,
Some popcorn.
popcorn, maybe. Yeah, all the devs are here tonight. Wow, that's crazy. Thanks for coming, everybody. And
Yeah.
So Greg can't answer this, but T-Lock, Adam, release date, early access.
Actually, what would be really great is if someone scrolled out with John Smedley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If John Smedley is in the chat, John, will this be out before July 1st? Because the brand new copy of the GameSpot, what's it called? Magazine, yes, came out and said it comes out for July. It came out and said, by the way, you already all are in H1Z1. What do you think of it so far? So,
Ooh. Spoilers.
spoilers.
GameSpot is
Spoilers.
bad.
Yeah, I was going to say. Questionable journalism? Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Is that a slip, a Freudian slip, or Freudian slip?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So let's. I guess we can keep going on with the questions.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Another one that might not be in your wheelhouse, but I kind of want to know.
Well, we got all the
Is
other
it
devs,
possible
maybe they could
to tame animals or harvest animals in your base? Pigs, chickens, etc.
In your base. I don't know if that that qualifies the question too much. I mean, definitely harvesting animals is something that's going to be in the game. Taming animals, I don't think is something that we've looked at doing, but harvesting them for their skins and their meats are definitely part of the game. As far as whether or not you can do it in your base, I don't see why not. I was trying to chase a deer into a building today, and he didn't want to go. Those deer can be awful hard to catch sometimes, and I thought if I chased him into a store and could corner him, I could then whack him with my axe. But they didn't want to run inside, so I don't know. I imagine if you could get an animal into your base, then you could probably harvest it just fine.
I think what they might be aiming for is in the forest. Future implementation is going to be you're going to be able to catch rabbits and put them in a pen, and they'll actually breed, and you'll be able to basically
Have an infinite food supply.
cultivate them, so to speak, as they breed. So I guess what they're asking is, would that sort of end up in H1Z1?
I imagine. I mean, that's something that could definitely be done. We have, some of those features sort of already in there. So trying to take it to the next level and doing something like breeding is certainly possible. I'm not sure if that's something that they've looked into doing yet, but definitely the capability exists to do that for sure. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, why not raise livestock and stock and stuff, and you'd have to protect it from other people. That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
All right, let's go a little bit more of a speed round here because we're getting close to wrap-up time.
Will you disappear when you log off?
Or is there sleepers like in Rust?
That's a good question. Can't really comment on that. I think there's still some debate going on about how we want to handle offline time. I know it's definitely something that we're talking about actively, so I'm not quite sure if even a decision has been made yet on how that's going to work.
Okay.
All of that has already been answered. Will arrows and projectiles cease to exist after maximum draw distance, or will they continue on until they hit something?
They should continue on. Yeah, I mean, those projectiles are controlled by the server, and so, they should continue on even if your client's not rendering them anymore. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I lost some sort of audio in the ear there, but I got it back now.
I think it was Stockus was humming and he stopped humming. Yeah, it's Stockus.
Sorry.
He's like,
It was just me.
It's okay.
I want to know personally, what feature are you most excited for to be putting in the game?
I really like the feature of just base building and like basically getting in with a bunch of friends and being able to decide, okay, what are we going to do? Where are we going to set up camp? And what are our roles going to be? You know, and how are we going to build something that we can defend against other people? And I think that sounds like a lot of fun. So I'd love to see features that really make that like a fun, you know, rich thing to do. Be able to build these, you know, complex structures and have lots of cool things and set traps and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that sort of thing. So that'll be a lot of fun.
I don't know if you can comment on this, but how is it going to work when either your character dies or somebody logs off and you've all built a base together? Who has ownership of it, or what's going to happen with the whole system? Because you know, in Rust, you could make a keypad entry on the door, basically, and other people could come up and hop in and play that, or go into your place if you allowed them. Something like that, similar in H1Z1?
Well, again, I don't want to get into specifics, but I know that we want to be able to have, you know, shared locking mechanics and things where you can share them with other people. You know, there's always those issues of, well, what if a friend stops playing the game? How do we know if he's on vacation or if he's really just quit? And those things are always kind of tough to deal with. But, you know, we want to have, you know, there's different possibilities of ways that we can deal with it. Things like decay, where things, if they're not upkept over a certain amount of time, then they could, you know, revert back to general ownership or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways we could look into handling it, and those things are still going to be sort of evolved over time. And of course, your guys' opinion on how we could do that is really important to us too. So we want to see what works well in early access and you know, approach it that way.
Okay.
Will there be cannibalism?
I think this has been a topic of debate on the team once or twice. Yeah, and I think the direction is not to. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, you never know. I'm pretty sure that's not something that's going to be in the game at this point.
I think you should, because like in forest, you know, there's times I'm starving and I can't find any berries or bunnies, and so I'm just like, I've got a leg in my hand. It looks pretty juicy, and if I cook it over the fire, who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that might be a little too far on the horror side of the genre.
That's full on horror. That's the good stuff right there.
Will there be baby zombies eating people? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Or Soylent Green. What about if we just boiled them down, made them into some Soylent Green?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's people. It's people. All right, where are we at? Is that it?
Yep. We're good. I think that for things that I think might even be answerable.
Awesome. Okay, perfect time. Let's wrap up then. Let's go around the room real quick. We'll come back to you, Greg. Stockus, want to tell us where people can find you and all that stuff?
Yep, you can find me in your closet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm underneath your bed. I am peeking through the shower curtain as you take a loofah sponge bath.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Stack is pretty much everywhere, on Twitch, on Twitter. Follow me. I will be right behind you when you follow me. So
Awesome.
Short and sweet.
Skyla?
I am Skylatron everywhere, Twitch, Twitter, all the things. And I also stream on Tent on Hammer Network. You can find me there.
Okay, very good. I'm Geekdomo. You find me everywhere around here as well. Mr. Greg Spence.
Yeah, well, my Twitter handle is at Greg Spence, and if I could just give a little shout out to my company, The Broken Token. We also design board game accessories and things for board games and card games.
You got a website?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's thebrokentoken.com.
Okay.
And we're also making some pretty cool H1Z1 little things that we're going to probably do some giveaways for in the future. I actually got a couple little things here, like we were talking about being able to do, like, this is some of the key art that Matt Broom did, and this is just something that we engraved into some wood, and then we were also doing like some, engraving plaques and things that we can do.
Oh, it was at your office that you had the neon sign.
Yeah, the lighted sign. Yeah, I built that. So that was a little project on the side. And
this is fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, that all comes from thebrokentoken.com. So if you play board games, check that out.
We do.
And look me up on Twitter, like I said, at Greg Spence.
No, this is great. So you might have a whole line of H1Z1 stuff? Because I do giveaways all the time. We
want to do cool stuff and run contests and give away things, to people, maybe with their name on them or H1Z1 logos and stuff like that. Just neat little things to give out. So
fantastic! Yeah, we should talk later.
Yeah,
that's great. All right. Also, any of the devs that are currently in the chat, would you please type in what your Twitter handles are. People can follow you over there on the Twitters. And if any of you are available next week, let me know.
Yep.
I keep bugging Tayana, and she's passed me off to another person now. So yeah,
you're too needy.
You have your own person.
I have my own person now. I do. Yeah,
handler.
I've got a handler. It's like, handle this guy. He's bugging me. He bothers me every week to get somebody on his show. But it works. We get people on the show all the time. So
yeah, and they're fantastic.
Great. Thank you so much.
So it can't be that bad, right?
No, yeah, exactly. It's not all that horrible. Right?
We
right,
drug
Greg?
their food.
Yeah, we drug their food, yeah. So, Greg, thank you so much for being on here tonight.
Sure, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think people are more insightful now on the what you do in the game, and some new interesting information came out tonight. So hopefully
nothing too new and interesting. Otherwise, I'll find out about it in the morning.
The morning, yes. You'd be like, oh, did I say that? I was drinking Stella.
Oh, no. Not
turn that. Oh, my God, Stockers, you're ruining the whole show. We got to start over. Let's do this all over again. Hey, everybody, real quick, afterwards, I'm going to stop the stream, and we're going to restart it right back up again. Greg can take off if he wants, but we're going to be giving away our R290, which has really nothing to do with H1Z1, so I'm going to stop the stream real briefly, and we'll put that back on. Cycle Make Hurts says, deny everything. So that's your plan tomorrow when you get back into work, Greg.
Right.
Just deny it. I didn't say that. Also, this will be available on my YouTube channel as well as Stockus and Skyla if they would like to put it up. So, and we'll put it up on the... oh, no, I got a phone ringing. We'll put it up on the Reddit. Jeez, sorry about that. This is great.
It is. It's not a podcast if someone's phone doesn't ring. Oh, dear.
All right, so let's get out of here so I can answer the stupid phone. All right, everybody, sorry about that. Just craziness. I will see you in about 5 minutes, everybody. Start it back up. Thanks. And thanks again, Greg, very much. And Stockus and Skyla, love you guys. And Bod for doing all the chat stuff.
Yes, thank you, Bod.
Yep. Love you in the face. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys.